Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vishvaro Guratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Yo Magda Vyapta Dhyaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatosh Mahamo Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. Welcome to our Q&A slash the big picture. So how shall we begin today? We have agreed that we begin with questions. In the case of no questions, we go back to our big picture. Claudio, do you still have a question? Yeah. How about you?
Yes. So my question about Bhakti is that I discover that in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says very clear that Bhakti is superior to Jnana Yoga, and if we can, for my understanding now, it's hard to understand that, because I quite clear about the fact that knowledge is the only real thing. I cannot understand why Krishna says something like this. But it's clear. I know, I discover it. I don't know this. So when I read it, I see that, wow, it's strange. So I want to ask you if you can elaborate a little bit on that. So why Krishna says something like that so clearly, because Arjuna says, oh yes, why, tell me which is better, most perfect, and Krishna says that. I know a little bit the answer because there was a Ramji seminar 1 month or 2 months ago, and I understand a little bit, but if we can complete, it will be good.
Tell me where did you read that passage stating clearly that Bhakti is superior?
I think in the 12th chapter, I think.
Because the Bhagavad Gita, there are many different interpretations and from different angles, including from the angle of the Bhaktas. And there are different translations that a lot of the time the translator, like we can see, like Ramji, he put his signatures in his translation. When he translates from the Indian English language to the USA English, he gives a little bit of his own input. So every time we pass it on, it's slightly colored by one's own words, one's own how you say expressions.
Interpretation.
So you said like Bhakti is superior to knowledge. So
devotion,
which book?
I think so.
Which book you read that?
I think I only see some translations, but I see that Ramji says, I don't see clearly even if which translation. I see only, I heard some videos also on internet, they talk about that. So
and then the first thing to understand is when we go and we start looking around, we're going to find hundreds of Bhagavad Gitas, and interpreted by different people. Some of these people are just academics, some are self-realized, some are Yanis, some are Bhaktas, and we can have all kinds of different expositions, interpretations of the Gita. When that passage says that Bhakti is superior, it's a little bit different from the Gita that I know from our tradition. In our tradition, it says in that dialogue, because it's very difficult for Krishna to get Arjuna on its track to self-knowledge. And as you know, in the Gita, he begins exposing the final teachings of the Jnana Yoga. Okay, he keeps presenting the knowledge, of the ultimate reality, that which cannot be cut, that cannot be dried, cannot be burnt, because you are the infinite, all pervasive consciousness that cannot be affected by anything here. Therefore, go and fight. So when he presents these initial arguments to Arjuna, he realized that Arjuna was not getting it. Okay, so since Arjuna was finding it a little bit too crazy, let's say, and then Krishna changed the strategy and began presenting the path of yoga. Okay, yoga, and he starts saying yoga is better than knowledge. Yoga is better than knowledge. Knowledge is analysis. Okay, it's an effort to understand the Upanishads. And yoga is an effort to make yourself, the body-mind complex, better. So when he started presenting the notion to Arjuna that, you are the ultimate reality and so on, and Arjuna did not get, and he says in the end of that chapter, he said, therefore, I have spoken to you about knowledge, and now I'm going to teach you the path of yoga. When he says the path of yoga, he is referring to karma yoga. And of course, devotion or bhakti is one of the elements or the aspects of karma yoga. So karma yoga is fundamentally action, done, based, aligned, conformed to the principles of dharma. So it's dharmic actions, and it's done within a certain context of understanding that can be followed by an attitude of gratitude, of love, of appreciation, you understand, of dedication, seeing Ishvara. So it's an action, conform to Dharma, understanding the mechanics of causality, actions and results of actions, okay? And then also developing a certain religious attitude called devotion or love, because you understood that everything in this apparent order of reality is Ishvara, is the Lord manifest as the universe. So you get to that. So, and then Krishna says to Arjuna, so I'm going to teach you yoga. And then he started teaching Arjuna yoga. And Arjuna got a little bit confused. And in two instances, it says, you seem to be almost like confusing me, because before you have you have exalted knowledge, and now you are saying that yoga, I should do yoga, I should do actions, I should fight this war, and etc., etc., etc. I mean, why should I do that if this is not real? So he got confused, and twice he was challenging Krishna, say, so you seem to be confusing me by teaching me yoga. And then at certain point, he asked, so finally enough, please, I'm tired about this paradox. Tell me, what is best path? Is action or knowledge? It is yoga or Jnana Yoga, okay? The effort to understand these two orders and the distinction between these two orders, so that I can have the complete knowledge of the fundamental nature of both orders, the real order and the apparent order. So in the end, he asked that to Lord Krishna, and Krishna says, yes, Arjuna, yoga is better than knowledge. Okay, and that made the people, the believers in actions, all the yogis in the world, made them really, woo, yoga is better. We are in the right path. We don't care about knowledge. We care about being devotee and doing good actions and helping the poor and all these notions that people have around karma yoga. Okay, so people got excited, but Krishna was saying that to Arjuna because he understood that Arjuna was not yet qualified for knowledge. Therefore, be a yogi. He concludes that chapter saying, therefore, be a yogi. Yoga is better for you. You understand? But it was I'm saying that the teacher says to someone, and when we read the scriptures alone, we are subject to confusion because we don't exactly know. I mean, reading the scriptures is difficult because things have to be put into a context, you understand, in which we can understand this apparent paradox or contradictions, you know. So it is for him at that moment, that stage in its own process of evolution, yoga was the best thing. And I often tell people I have nothing to blame Osho Rajneesh, because at that stage in my own path, Osho Rajneesh was the best yoga for me. You understand? Because everybody gets the yoga that one deserves. Everybody gets the guru that one deserves, and so on. Okay? Yes, Dave.
It's funny, I have a question too, and I didn't think Claudio's question was going to dovetail with mine, but in your explanation, it absolutely does. So I'm grateful for that. So I'd like to kind of continue to explore a little bit more. I've been thinking about this a lot, about karma yoga, so the yoga of action, but and specifically the devotional aspect of that. And my question is just like, what are we offering to Ishvara when we're doing karma yoga? Is it the experience itself? Can we offer up the experience itself, or whatever it is, whether it's good or bad? Do we offer up the experience, or are we really offering up, our intention, or setting our intention as we go into an experience or as we have an experience? Is that what we're devotionally offering to Ishvara? So that's my question.
Well, I mean, it's a good question.
Intention.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, because it somehow it brings about different aspects of this consecration or offering or dedication. So we can offer a lot to Ishvara through our prayers. If our prayers, depending on the degree of our understanding of Ishvara within this relationship, Jiva Ishvara, so we can have a big, huge prayers that are genuine and very powerful. And when you see that you are in a certain circumstance and you are mature individual, you offer your prayers to Ishvara, asking Ishvara for what? For strength to be a human being, giving me the force, the strength, and the courage to be a human being, sticking to Dharma and not violating it in spite of a complete Dharmic environment in my world, for example. So you ask for Ishvara, you pray, you are offering your prayer to Ishvara is one way of offering something to the Lord, and the scriptures say, if your prayers are genuine, and if they are moderate, and if they are conform to Dharma, chances are that Ishvara is going to orchestrate events in a way that, why? Because you are gaining the sympathy of Ishvara. Ishvara is pure knowledge, is connecting with people who have recognized this higher power, understand? And then it's going to naturally to manifest, to help us to really keep going. It's so rare to find human individuals that they are striving to elevate themselves spiritually. It's so rare. When you find a few and we put out our prayers, of course, Ishvara immediately connect with those prayers and say, yes, I need more of you. We need to uphold Dharma. We need to make this planet, this world, a better place, because Jesus is a place in which people can elevate themselves spiritually. So a prayer is a good thing, okay? But our life is not only about praying somewhere in a monastery or something. We are householders, and we are called to respond to our karma, the prarabdha karma. So we receive the stimulus from our prarabdha karma, and we are called to respond. So when we respond with our actions, Dave, these actions, if they are given to the Dharma's field with the understanding that Ishvara is as well the Dharma field. Ishvara is the environment. Ishvara is the world manifest as my environment around myself. So the world is Ishvara. Ishvara is the intelligent cause, the energetic cause, the laws governing this manifestation, and the world manifest as we know it. So when we know that this is all Ishvara, this is all the Lord, and then our attitude changes when we do a response. our response is going to be in harmony with the laws governing the Dharma field, these cosmic laws, and it's going to be followed by the attitude. This attitude is the other 50% of Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is the greatest purifier when it is like the right action, dharmic action, okay, appropriate action in the proper time, and accompanied by an attitude of consecration, an attitude of dedication, because you know that the Dharma field is Ishvara, and I'm here to offer my actions in harmony with Dharma, howsoever it may hurt. You understand? Because the human ego does things to gain something. Okay, it's an investment, it's a trading. When you do things only for upholding Dharma, uphold the environment, to help the environment, to helping others, to be honest, to be sincere, to be, so these are attitudes that together with the understanding of karma and dharma, it has an incredible power to process this natural spiritual preparedness or qualifications or so on. So we do that, and our actions are dedicated to the field of action, are dedicated to the environment, because the Ishvara is the environment as well. You understand? And then you are doing things, you are, no, I am doing things for my grandmother, but you know that Ishvara is your grandmother. Ishvara is everything which is manifest. Therefore, I doing everything to Ishvara. I have a friend of mine that has done so many things, and he has no regrets, for example, because he says that everything he ever did was for Ishvara. You understand? So when you do things for Ishvara, you don't regret in the end, even if you did things, even if you were abused, if you were, because I was not doing to any human being, I was doing something for Mark, but I was seeing Ishvara through Mark. I was doing something to Cloud, but I was seeing Ishvara through Cloud, you understand? So this is the way we dedicate our actions to the Lord, because everything is the Lord. This is the point,
So,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, Lynn.
sorry, you follow up, Dave. I'll wait.
It feels like a lot of actions are, and this is personal, but a lot of actions, I feel like taking actions for your health, for the health of your, for this body. And it's kind of making the connection to doing things to improve your health, and making the connection to that's dharmic, or that is, offering up to Ishvara. It feels selfish, and it feels, centered. It feels like a duality when you're trying to improve the self, whether it be mentally or physically. And so it's like, in my mind, that's I'm wrestling with that.
I understand. So this is due to the identification with the body-mind as the body-mind, and then you said it's my body-mind and so on. Yeah. At that point, we lose sight of the fact that every body-mind construct is an instrument of the Lord, and it's our duty to take good care of these instruments, especially if we are dharmic individuals. We need to have a proper health, mentally and physically instrument, so that we can help the Lord to uphold Dharma, you understand? So it's absolutely dharmic to take care of our physical condition. But when we are obsessed with the body-mind as the body-mind, and then we lose that perspective, and we think, oh my God, I'm being egoist because I want just to save my skin for the sake of remaining alive, so that I can enjoy the pleasures of the world and I can suffer the pains of the world as well. The attachment is that makes you feel a little bit selfish,
Good answer. Thank you. That really helps me. Thank you.
Okay. How about Lynn?
That was basically just to my point. I was thinking about when you were speaking about something that Swami P said about the relationship between the self, between me and the jiva. And he talks about it in terms of your care for a neighbor, and that this is, your jiva is like your neighbor, and there's problems there, and you participate and you try to help and everything, but really they're not your problems. They still belong to your neighbor. And I thought that that's exactly where Dave was coming from. That loving attention to Dave is, just good.
Yeah. That's very nice, Lynn. Thank you. Because if you do take good care of the body of Dave, the same way you would care of the body of Karen, and then you are just taking care of Ishwara, you know?
Well, now, if we go back to the idea of prayer, the way we talked about it was like asking Ishwara for things. That feels very dualistic and
But the whole process is dualistic, Dave. The whole spiritual process is within duality. Even when you come to Yana Yoga, you are still in duality, because until the last moment when the final clear self-recognition takes place, you are still in duality, trying to reach Brahman, trying to become Brahman, trying to transcend the ego. You know, everything is in duality in the whole process. And our prayers to Ishwara are in duality. And it's the highest kind of prayer is to ask for strength and courage to the Lord, because it's not easy to swim against the current, you know, the current, and going through all these adversities and upholding Dharma and staying faithful to your goal, which is a spiritual growth and assimilation of self-knowledge. So those are the best possible prayers, you know. You know that you are asking something to the Lord of this apparent order of reality, which is not real. So you are asking something to the Lord, which is not real, to protect and give strength to the jiva, your jiva, you know, which is not real. But of course, you cannot do anything real within the unreal, because within the unreal, everything is unreal, including your effort, you know, including your prayer. It's all part of the same order of reality. And all of this, it serves the purpose of what? Of processing more and more spiritual purification or development of qualification, preparedness, so that the Jiva Atma comes to the final understanding that he is Brahman in its ultimate fine essence, you know? So that understanding requires this dualistic process of improvement, betterment, you know, making the jiva better. And sometimes we need to turn to this higher power and ask for the strength, for the courage, to the force, never to give up. My resolve to grow and to find myself, you know, with this understanding, this final knowledge, you know.
I'm pausing. If people want to contribute, that's fine. I mean, to me, what you just said kind of then triggers the idea of like, what's the understanding for Dharma? And in that case, I mean, would you say that like every jiva has a Dharma for spiritual development? Only, you know, it's a matter of knowledge or awareness as to what extent are you aware of, you know, is the jiva aware of their Dharma? And, you know, so is everybody or does every jiva,
Okay.
you know,
So
have that?
let's step back a little bit, because what is Dharma? Okay, the best understanding of Dharma from the practical standpoint is like the jivas. We jivas, we are the experiencing entities, and we were designed to receive, you know, receive the inputs, you know, receive the stimulus coming from our environment and to offer a response. So look at all other jiva, all other creatures from the sea, from the insect life, from the tree lives, from the moms and everything, you know. So you see all of these other jivas, they respond to the stimulus coming from the environment, and their response are absolutely in harmony with Dharma. You understand? There is no individual, no jiva, non-human jiva that does violate Dharma. You understand? Because they are just programmed. The life in this planet, that's why we have come to this notion lately that human beings are the problem of the place. But it's not that the human beings are the problem. Ignorance is the problem, you understand? So the human beings, we find ourselves in a difficult condition because we were given the power to choose how to respond. And what is Dharma? Dharma is to respond in harmony with the laws governing the Dharma field, the field of action and results, you know, of stimulus and response. So there are laws governing this. And every other creature responds according to this fundamental dharmas, fundamental nature of this organism called our planet, okay? So everything is in harmony with this universal law. We have the power to decide how to respond. And somehow, Ishvara has designed us in a way that it's very, very easy due to Rajas and Tamas to be caught up within this addiction of responding based with what I like and what I dislike. You understand? Because we do things and then we experience certain results. Certain results we develop a taste for it, a flavor to it. We enjoy, and some we don't, and then we are caught up into this tendency to respond according to my likes and to respond according to my dislike. And then this is the ego. This is the individual jiva who wants things only for the sake of experiencing pleasure and avoiding pain. When we do that, and then we are subject to a lot of potential violation of these natural laws because we are more concerned about extracting pleasure and avoiding pain. You understand? And then to follow Dharma is very difficult. We need to go through this educational spiritual process to understand what is Dharma, which is a response, which is appropriate, adequate, okay, and timely correct, which could must be chosen in spite of your likes or dislikes. We need to sacrifice our likes or dislikes at the altar of Dharma. And this is something very, very difficult unless we go through a very profound spiritual training or transformation so that we see the value of living in harmony with everyone and everything in this planet. If we don't have that perspective, and then we are religious people, and we're going to try to do the right thing only out of fear of burning in hell. But that logic does not prevent people because by now people think, no, I'm going to do what I do as long as I'm not caught. And I don't believe much that there is a fire of hell waiting for me, you know? So unless we have this understanding of the karma laws, okay, the psychological laws, and what Dharma is, these general laws that keeps the Dharma field in proper balance, you know, in harmony. If we don't have, so what is the most fundamental law, Dharmic law, is to respond in such a manner that I'm not going to hurt others, you know, meaning to say, and it's very complex. I'm not going to do anything that I wish was not done to me. So I don't like to be lied, deceived. Therefore, I'm not going to lie and deceive. I would not like to be robbed. I'm not going to rob. I would not like to be physically attacked. Therefore, I'm not going. If we follow that, you know, we already, you know, navigating through these universal laws, you know, that would protect us to live in harmony with all other circumstantial laws and our personal swadharma as well is to be taken in account, you understand? So all of this, but most important dharma is to respond above all in harmony with these laws, even if it goes against my own pleasures, you know, my own, you know, desires and fears. And we have a mechanism within us that every time we do something very, very inappropriate, we realize it. We realize it until we do not realize anymore. Some people do not realize anymore because they become so insensitive that they can create incredible suffering, and they don't feel anything because they are almost unhuman by now. They don't have empathy. They don't. This can be a way. Another way to do actions and not being conditioned by this response that you have that makes you feel inadequate and guilt is by the means of self-knowledge. If you have self-knowledge, you know that even for the yani, there is room for certain mistakes. And if a mistake happens, if a strong reaction happens, for example, you don't really identify with that because you have self-knowledge. You say, oops, another mistake, because it's hard to really answer to all the stimuli in perfect harmony and conformity with this general cosmic laws. Okay, but for most of us, we do actions and we have enough sensitivity, empathy, that when we hurt others immediately, we feel that we did an Adamic move or action. And then we know that, and we have to be very careful with that because there is a lot of projections, a lot of people carrying a lot of guilt for a lot of, harmful action that were done in the past, a lot of guilt. So those guilts have to be forgiven. Who is going to forgive us? Ourselves. We understand Karma Yoga, we understand Mitya, we understand the relationship between Ishvara, Jiva, and the world. And then we know that we have been governed, moved, by these vasanas. And it took time for me to develop this spiritual wisdom so that I can begin to filtering those negative tendencies, and regulating, these negative vasanas so that I no longer react in violation of Dharma. So we need to forgive ourselves for everything we did in the past, because otherwise we're going to keep carrying guilt. And then any little mistake we do now is like the last drop. And then we feel, oh my God, I'm a horrible jiva because, I have done so much in the past. And now I have spoken to my wife with anger or irritation, and now, okay, now I will never get enlightened. No, you understand? We forgive ourselves. We are all here. We are born out of ignorance. We are driven by ignorant vasanas, and takes enormous effort to come to the point to develop this merit, spiritual merit, punya, so that we get in contact with this revealed spiritual knowledge. And only then we see with a better understanding that Jiva is a biological computer operated by vasanas, and as an organic biological computer, I need to understand and I need to harmonize my life with these Dharma laws, and gradually I'm going to reprogramming myself because we have the program now. What's the program now? The scriptural knowledge revealed by Ishvara. This is the program. You want to be a human being? You're going to have the choice to decide how to respond. And then we are lost because we're going to respond according to our vasanas, our likes and dislikes. And then he comes and he gives us the manual. They gives us this program. The only way to be a health and human being and to grow, refine, purify to the point to understand your fundamental nature is by developing the Vedic program. Think according to the Vedic knowledge, and act in harmony with this knowledge. We're going to reprogram ourselves to live from that platform of knowledge. It's a reprogramming phenomenon. Our free will remains there. Our ability to discern between Dharma and the Dharma remains sharp and sharp. Fundamentally, what is free will? Free will is only a possibility that was given to every human being to act in violation of that of Dharma, or following Dharma. This is the fundamental free will. And we are at loss and we feel bad, we suffer, we make others suffer. Until we develop the merit to get this manual, to get this program, that's going to allow us to exercise intelligently our free will. How are we going to exercise this free will? By choosing Dharma, you know? Even if I have to sacrifice my pleasures, even if I have to sacrifice certain securities and everything, you understand? So this is the exercise of free will, a Dharma against Adharma, which takes enormous amount of knowledge so that it can be really possible. You know, otherwise we, you know, these ideas that don't do that, otherwise you're going to burn in hell, or do that so that you can spend the rest of your times in heaven, you know. Those logics, they don't hold much willpower, you know, they don't produce much willpower in the human intellect, you understand? So we need to get the whole picture. That's why karma yoga is the key. Understand this relationship, understand our humanity, and see that the power we have is the power to choose correctly and respond in harmony with these dharma laws, because that's the way we evolve, we grow, and we come to the point of self-knowledge and moksha. Right, Claudio? Shall we go back to our book, Bhakti, or you have more questions?
I mean, just to continue, I'm thinking a lot, but I just like, um, you know, how do I remind myself not to just respond like from my vasanas, but to to respond from a place uh, of um, of self knowledge.
Knowledge, yeah.
So it's like managing that fight or flight kind of response. I mean, it's almost automatic, and to get it under control in the moment. So, I mean, I know I can meditate and I can do I can do things to quiet my mind, but in the moment, you know,
Yeah.
it's like, it's like, what's my tool? You know, take a breath. I mean, calm, separate myself from the situation, and and reflect before. I mean, it's like, how do I break out of that?
Yeah.
That continuation of using the vasanas for my automatic response.
Yeah. It's not an easy fight, let's say, you know, to fight against this human. Let me share you something very, very quickly here before we go to Lynn. Lynn have a good insight there, as it seems. And the human nature, it can be very animalesque. I don't know if there is this expression in English, our animal nature. Okay. So if we respond from the animal human beings, what the animals are seeking for, the animals, they act for the sake of protection, security, survival, and preservation of the species. You understand? So they just do that, you know, and they can be masked at our eyes when we look at the behavior of these other creatures, but they are designed by Ishwara. They don't run in any sense of guilt because they are just following their character, their nature. So the animal inside of us is only concerned about security, protection, and pleasures, you know, and preservation, procreation. You understand? So this is our animal, we say, and we respond for lifetimes, for eternity, from that standpoint. We came from that, you know. If you look at the evolution, you know. So now we have also something about us which we could say is our divinity. So our divinity is something that which comes with this human intellect and the ability to discern. And this ability to discern is what qualifies us to transcend all the Dharma action, all the actions based on protection, security, and pleasures, okay? And to move into the third human way of living, which is Dharma, following Dharma, you understand? So this is our divinity, you understand? This is our spirit. This is sattva that is shining in a more qualified intellect and allows us to see beyond security and pleasures, you understand? So this is, I mean, it requires to all of us a certain degree of spiritual development to integrate God, to integrate the laws of Dharma, the laws of karma, you know, and start acting from this new platform or angle or perspective, you know, and it's not for anybody, it's not for everybody, you understand? Just rare individuals coming to the Vedas and rare individuals comes to the Vedanta. And when we come, we have to understand that it's a tough fight. The easiest thing is to just swim with the crowd, swim with the current, you know? You just swim like that. You go against this huge power called Dharma, called avidya, ignorance, you know, that you want just what you want for your own sake. So it's not easy, Dave, and a lot of the times we may fail, but our resolve must be such that we say, no matter how many times I fail, I will never give up, because I'm holding on to my divinity and I'm living my animal nature, you know, to Ishvara, you know, but I have to control it. I need to regulate it, because if we will not regulate our animal nature, we will do things that we cannot even imagine. One time, long ago, I read about someone who lived in one of these tribes, of cannibals, you know, these tribes that they eat other humans, other beings, you understand? And he stayed there, and he was almost they almost made a barbecue out of him, but somehow the chief there took sympathy and say, no, let's not eat him yet. And then he starts staying there, staying there, staying there. And for some reason, I read this 30 or 40 years ago, he was saved. He left the tribe and he survived. And he was saying that the best meat, that was the days of nice banquet, you know, is when they used to eat their children, because the children, the meat is very, very soft and delicious, you understand? And we know that when we eat animals, the younger the animals, the better is the meat, you understand? So just imagine, if we would live as animals, we would be eating our children, because it's the most flavorful, the most delicious, you know, tender, and so on. So we need to transcend this animal instinct, being driven by the pleasure, the sense pleasure, you know, and develop our divinity. And in the process, there is room for a lot of mistakes, because this ignorance that drives us to respond as an animal who wants security, protection, and pleasure, it's huge, and it comes from many births, so many maybe many universes, you know, who knows. We need to be gentle with ourselves and know that this is a tough fight, you know.
So my question is very much similar to David's, and I've been struggling with how to culture deliberate thinking instead of the habitual thinking that goes on so much. And I've only come up with just discipline to make sure that every day contains knowledge, every day contains some satsang, and every day something like that. And try to keep it in the roof of my mind and available. And then I heard, well, you know, Ramji and yourself talk about this presence of the I thought and how it can be a trigger to remind oneself that there's the Vyavaharika I and there's the Paramatmika I, and then to always try to come back to that. But still a struggle to maintain that deliberate thinking. And I wonder if you have any pointers.
Well, this is a very profound question. It can go into very profound philosophies, discussions as well. Because is there really deliberate thinking? So Vedanta says that we need to think. I mean, we are biological computers, run, programmed, and operate by vasanas. Okay, so we think in accordance to our vasanas. So what is deliberate thinking? It's like, as I don't want to think like an animal, and I want to think like God, like my spirit, like the free being I am, consciousness, awareness. Okay, I want to think from that angle. And then that is a huge effort. It's a deliberate effort, which is not entirely deliberate because it's the result of your previous effort. It's vasana. You have a spiritual vasana work for you, and now you're striving for this knowledge, and you are going to push away all those negative surviving mode thoughts, egoic thoughts. So naturally, you are developing a spiritual vasana. It appears to us that I'm deliberating thinking, and there is a deliberating choice there. No longer, I don't want anymore. Because as we know, the formation of vasanas is not entirely in the hands of Ishvara, because the vasana is a byproduct of our struggle, our effort to break with the old paradigms of thoughts and actions, you understand? Yeah. So all of this is going to do what? Cultivate and create spiritual vasana. So the ultimate goal in terms of deliberate thinking is to develop vasanas of thoughts which are in harmony with the scriptures of self-knowledge. So when you have a pattern of thoughts, that are based on this knowledge in regards to the fundamental nature of everything that we experience, this is going to be a vasana that is going to create something that can be, again, more mechanical thought. But now you are thinking aligned with the scriptures, and you worked before to create a vasana. Okay, deliberately you fought the ignorance. You had to really come with a lot of willpower to fight this ignorance, and then you, through your will, we always begin from willpower. The whole process of meditation is willpower until we get in contact with knowledge, and then we have knowledge, we have a willpower, and then we are reprogramming ourselves. Now we're going to be thinking in alignment with the scriptures on karma, dharma, and jnana yoga. Okay, so now self-knowledge is good when it is absolutely free of any effort. Okay, so I often say, when the self-knowledge is clear and always present, it does not require effort, because you have produced a strong vasana of aham brahmasmi that works for you, because we are machines, biology created by Ishvara, programmed by vasanas. My efforts as a jiva in this life and previous life has helped me to come to a point of developing these new vasanas. And now my thoughts are in harmony with Ishvara and Brahman, you understand? Now I think from this platform of, now I'm a spiritual computer. Like, remember Swami Chimayananda, when he said to Ramji long ago, don't think that I'm a person, I'm a computer, it's a Vedanta computer, you understand? Why? Because now he thinks according to these declarations, these revelations from the Vedas and from Vedanta. His life is seen, he is experiencing the world from that platform of knowledge. You see the world through whatsoever thoughts you have in your mind, So we need to fight deliberately to make a resolve to abandon ignorance, to abandon all those animal moved instincts, and to start, discerning and respond, acting from this platform of spiritual knowledge is a huge fight, it's a huge, control our thoughts and emotions and actions in the beginning. Okay, it's huge. It's a deliberate effort. Otherwise, everybody is moving with the herd, with the crowd. Everybody is just doing what they do for the sake of their own pleasures and security. So in the beginning, we do this effort, and then slowly we develop this spiritual vasana, and then self-knowledge come, and we want to have this spiritual aham brahmasmi vasanas properly established in your causal body, so that you don't need to be working hard to keep your self-knowledge. You understand? So I used to say that this self-knowledge needs to create roots in the causal body. It's very much to the point. It begins in the subtle body, in the conscious mind, but then it has to create roots and start taking over the unconscious, the subconscious mind or the causal body. So then it produces proper spiritual thoughts naturally. You understand?
So
your mic.
Oh, so does this mean that habitual thinking will always be part of the Vyavaharika jiva? But and so you can go out and spend an hour in the garden and not, but then when the environment asks who you are in one way or another, then you respond from that platform of knowledge.
Yeah,
so the yoni won't mind if there's habitual thinking.
Yeah, you don't care about that at all. You understand? You let it be. Okay. So it's almost, it came to my mind an analogy. It's almost like a life insurance, your self-knowledge. You know who you are, you understand? You know that you're not subject to life and death, to birth and death, and you know that you're eternally free. And this is insurance. But then you go about living your day, and your habitual thinking patterns are going to change, are going to be purified, but you are not concerned about that. You understand? Let me tell you a small example. When this self-recognition took place for this jiva here, and I used to have a restaurant, and I had to run the restaurant. And in the weekends, the restaurant was very busy, and the stress level was very high. And then in the beginning, I was going for the weekends there. First, when this self-recognition took place, I did not share with anybody, not even with Sylvia, okay, because I was not sure if it was going to stay, okay. And then I started going for the restaurant, and I was afraid that the stress and the intense process of actions and response to the stimuli of a crowded restaurant, that could affect my self-knowledge. And I was very nervous because I have read so many books of people who said I got enlightened, but then I lost it. And I was afraid that would happen to me. I would forget what I have understood clearly. And I would be identified with the body-mind. So I was doing my job, and I was trying to hold on to, so I am limitless self-consciousness, I am limitless consciousness, and that was affecting my performance, because I was not fully a waiter, I was not fully a sommelier, I was just like confused, and then gradually I started developing confidence that in spite of all the other mental activities around the gas, around food, and around the wine, very intense, none of that was affecting my self-knowledge conviction. In the end, I was there. I said, what is my life insurance? Oh, it's still here. You understand? What's my life insurance? I am free, limitless consciousness, awareness, which is never affected by any condition, any experience, not affected by experience. So it comes a point that the habitual thoughts, they are extensively purified. All those negative patterns or anxieties or frustration, all those things, they improve. But this has only to do about purification of the body-mind complex, purification of Sattva. So this is happening, but most importantly is that regardless of what goes on in your machinery, You know, this knowledge now is what we call a hard and fast, clear, and always available, you know, life insurance. Yes, Ruth.
Um, going back to conditioning and programming, when a person is learning any motor skill, they have to very specifically go through the steps. But as you master that, the steps become automatic. And when bad habits reintroduce themselves, you have to go back to basics. So the idea of deliberate thinking all the time would just be so exhausting. You have to commit yourself to the process of learning,
Yeah.
And that takes time. That takes time and discipline.
Yeah, and the young is not interested with that because he's no longer fascinated with his thinking process, his mental state, you understand? But naturally, as a bonus, it all improves, you understand? But as Ruth beautifully said in this analogy, you know, so as long as we still we are not clear about who we are, we better keep doing this effort of controlling or regulating our negative thoughts and our negative patterns of thinking and seeing the world. Those need to be also regulated to a certain extent because, and there is nothing better than submitting our minds to the scriptures of karma, dharma, moksha, because that is the best reprogramming program, let's say, you know. Very nice, Ruth. Okay, it's already 1 hour, so let's one more question. It's pointless to begin with the other book. So does anybody have a last moment, something, contribution? Or,
I
just
have okay.
let me hear from Karen. Karen does not often say things.
I was just going to comment on remembering, you know, by taking the breath, it's still an effort because you still need that trigger of remember to take a breath before you speak or react. And that's where the big practice comes in, like Ruth was saying. Just keep trying to have that click of remembering to take the breath and the pause, so you don't get the knee-jerk reaction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This everything helps, Karen. Okay, so we have a very, very a clear and evident kind of red flag. Every time we feel uncomfortable emotionally, you know, it's because there is some negative pattern taking over, you know. So, and then if we pay attention to those moments in which we feel very uncomfortable, you understand? And there we should pause and we should examine the thoughts, you know, the vasanas, the tendencies, what is making me feel uncomfortable. But when we are living life, we cannot press the pause button every time we are dealing with people in our environment. We cannot say, excuse me, you know, I'm having a vasana coming to surface. I'm going to press a pause and then I get back to you in a few, you know. So it's not always possible and we don't want to avoid life. Therefore, we know the mistakes are meant to happen. It's possible until they no longer happen, you know. I mean, to say inconvenient, inadequate, inappropriate things, you know. I used to say many times things that were inappropriate. People used to tease me. And now naturally I don't anymore, you know. I mean, gradually, you know, I kind of paid attention, yeah. And then slowly, when you see you are not mechanically answering according to your program, your initial program, your previous program, you are reprogrammed to think and act with much more balance and elegance and equilibrium and knowledge and wisdom, you understand? So it's a gradual process. But when we catch ourselves, getting too like that, it is good to pause if we can pause, Yeah. It is exciting, huh? Isn't it exciting to be a human being? Yes, Ruth.
Just a quick note. My son recently told me that my modus operandi as a mother was to make him feel guilty. I said, that's not a bad thing. That's not always a bad thing. I said, if you feel guilty, then you need to stop and think about what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, don't tell me. I mean, that was big with me. I had so much trouble with my mother, and I have been accusing her all through my young adult life of playing the victim and making me feel so guilt. I was a huge bag of guilt, and I used to blame my mother for that. Yeah. We all do those mistakes. I mean, I did the same thing with my son as well. We want the best. We do things with our best, our best. How you say? Intentions. But we were not born wise, and usually we get wise later on after we have grown up our children. And then once you understand, and then you don't care about all the mistakes you did. You leave it all behind, You say, this is life. We live in an ocean of ignorance, and it's so hard to develop wisdom. So we should have children only after the age of 70, huh? Would be good, huh? But for that, we will need to live until 150.
That's why being a grandparent is good.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Okay, my dear friends. Yes, Dave? Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, my dear friends. Love you. Appreciate you. Appreciate your contributions as well. They're a great help to me. Namaste. I see you next Monday, Ishwara willing. I will be back home. I'm doing some health work here to see if I improve a little bit my bag of bones. Now I call myself, James called him as a meat tube. I call myself a bag of bones because I'm so skinny that it's just like a bag of bones. We meet again soon. Much love.